You guys smell that? Anyone else smell that? Smells like graphics on PlayStation 5, baby!
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Hello, party people. It's your boy Dre, back with you again on this thing we call Fine Time. I don't know why we call it Fine. Yeah, I know why we call it. Why am I even lying to you guys? You know exactly why I call it Fine Time. Maybe I shouldn't say out loud. Here, Steve's here, Kevin's here, I guess.
You know, I hear they're hiring over a Nintendo Power podcast. I can clean up my act and join them anytime I want, I bet.
Oh my god. If you know what? You can leave us for another pod. If you leave us for some... You know what? Never mind. I'm not going to be another... bad to another pod in the air here. I'm not... No pod on pod violence.
I bet you Kit and Krista are looking for a good voice actor these days.
Oh, yeah.
Sure they are.
Krista has yet to say fuck, and I am very disappointed. I don't care if Kit says fuck. I just want to hear Krista. Oh, boy. All right, guys. All right, we play video games, allegedly. Steve has maybe played some this last couple weeks.
Oh, yeah, sure. So... You know I did this completely ass backwards. You know, me and Kevin were having a ball doing Pokemon Legends and stuff. So I'm like, and at the end of all that, I'm just sitting there going, oh shit, I still have to finish Pokemon Brilliant Diamond.
TBH, I thought you already did, and I just forgot. Like, I didn't realize that you hadn't.
Well, Shirogami Tensei 5, remember, the game where Gustav definitely fucked all the money, got in the way, and that's why I was late to the party in the first place, and then I was, you know, here's the thing, you know, this is the best way to play the game. This is still, for all of its faults that I'm going to get into, if you're looking to play Pokemon Diamond or Pearl in 2022, this is still much better than trying to go to GameStop and buying an $80 copy that may or may not be a forgery. That said, you know what? I know Andre was complaining even though he had no horse in the race. I thought the art was cute enough. You know, it took some cues from Link's Awakening. You know, you have the little chibi art things that turned into the real portraits in the fights, and that was fine. But the thing is, for the most part, it's a very weird remake, unlike the other Pokemon remakes, where they made the experiences more fresher along the way. Here, they took Diamond and Pearl and they kind of changed only what they had to change because of hardware changes or whatever else. Like, the music's a mixed bag. You either get really good renditions of the old tunes, or you get what they told a robot was what this song sounded like, and then it fed through the other side and it sounds wrong.
They a machine learned like some new arrangements or something.
It's weird because some of them are actually really good, but some of them are just this machine learned arrangement, and it's like I don't know what happened there. I have to bring up I was online all the time. Like, if they do anything in a Pokemon Diamond Pearl remake, they need to like really spruce up the underground. It was this local thing that you were able to run around and look for treasure and stuff with other people, and they did, and you can play it online with other people, which is good, because as much as I'd like to go to a convention and have a bazillion people running around, it's still coronavirus time. I don't care what my local government says. I'm not going to a thing getting a disease just so I can pretend to search for gold nuggets with a bunch of sneezy coffee nerds.
Imagine not only dying for Pokemon, but for dying for Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes.
Here's the biggest thing. It was the biggest weird thing with this game. They have the Poke Watch. It was a neat doodad you had on the bottom screen of the original games where you can toggle around and do different things. It helped you do things like, yeah, sure, it told you time, but It was like a smartwatch before we ever had such a thing. It kept track of eggs you might have needed to hatch, or how berries you were planted might have been doing. It acted as the item finder or whatever. But the thing is that they didn't update it to be like a smartwatch that we know of as we know it in 2022. They kept it as is, as a thing you have to toggle on and enlarge and then toggle back down. This makes it absolutely useless as for the most part as the super duper handy watch like tool that they made it in the first place. And the people that will defend them, the handful of people that will defend this are crazy, because I was complaining about this sometime in December, like, oh, it's a faithful remake of the game. No, they changed stuff like this before to improve with the times. Don't be giving me that bullshit.
I didn't know they predicted smartwatches like that. That's kind of interesting.
I thought it was very interesting and handy back then, but
because I always think about, like, sorry for the aside, but I always think about like how Mega Man Battle Network essentially predicted like smartphones and Wi-Fi like the way we use them today, which is kind of wild when you think about that as 20 years ago.
Yeah, they kind of did, didn't they?
Yeah, they really, especially even like, oh, it's so silly. You can jack into your refrigerator. Now your refrigerator has Wi-Fi in 2022, right? So wasn't really too far-fetched.
Thankfully, jack-in is not the nomenclature we use.
Oh, we can't. We're not nearly a mature enough society to call it jack-in on a mass scale. There's no way.
I remember. You ever see the Mega Man NT dub?
No, I read the manga. That's it. Yeah,
because they very much, even though it was a kid show, they very much just kept saying "Jack in" again and again. And the episode and a half I watched, I just couldn't after that.
Did you ever play the hilariously titled, one of the best names of all time, Mega Man Battle Network 5 Double Team DS? Did you ever play that version?
No.
Okay, it's, as you can imagine, it's a port to DS of Mega Man Battle Network 5, but they add voice acting stuff, and Lan sounds like he's my age. Mega Man, jack in, execute. It was like very like, I was like, come on, that is not how this kid sounds. Anyway, Pokemon. What? Is that what we were talking about?
So, while it's being a faithful remake, I can at least go to Valestar City, or whatever. I probably got the name wrong. You can all add me at the comments of the show later. At least the Game Corner's still going to be there, right? No, of course not. There hasn't been gambling in Pokemon since Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So what's in its place? A clothing store. Okay, we can put on some outfits on my guy, right? No, all the outfits kind of look like a coloring book for Diamond and Pearl, and they told a 4-year-old to color it in, and okay, these are the outfits.
Did they get in trouble for having a gambling thing at one point? I didn't know that was gone.
I feel like
as taboo.
I feel like as time went on and more, as it became more and more kid friendly internationally, and more countries outlawed gambling outright, I think that was the sort of thing that needed to be removed.
It's Europe. Because, like, anything, like, I think with Peggy, anything that has gambling has to be rated 18 now.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
But it's not even real gambling, obviously. It's just, but...
You get tokens and you get... It's like gambling at Dave & Buster's.
The days of Luigi slinging blackjack in a suit are over.
That was so much fun.
It was, though.
Come on, man.
This is really going to wreak havoc on my Golden Sun remakes that are mentally coming at some point.
Oh yeah, they'll no more lucky coin toss.
Yeah.
But they did give away the platinum scarf outfit. It was a neat little, as dumb as this sounds, like in Pokemon Platinum, since there was some weird change in the plot, they gave your character a little scarf and winter coat, and that was neat. And you can download that for a time, which I found an interesting choice for you to give, because even though this is a remake, they didn't choose to include the fun platinum storyline that would have been fun to have run parallel with different things in Legends. So you can do the whole George Lucas thing of, like poetry, it rhymes, but no, we can't even have that sort of fun with it. And I mean, as of me sitting here right now, there's no update that includes the Legends Pokemon variants or anything fun like that. Like older remakes sort of included like newer Pokemon as they fit, but this was very bare bones in a way. I'm kind of hoping that we can do some sort of migration eventually, but it's seems to be all quiet on that for now. I mean, the game's fine, but if you're me and you play Pokemon Diamond and you have all your best guys sitting in the Pokemon Home, you don't need to play this again. Anyway, 12 is better than 6 is a twin stick shooter with a Western theme. You're a Mexican slave with amnesia, and none of that really matters because the
what the hell did you just say on these airwaves? Can you repeat that for me?
12 is better than 6 is a game I bought on
Not
the
that part.
Nintendo eShop, where you play as a Mexican slave who escapes from his slavers. So he has amnesia, and he's really good at guns for some reason. You find out why later. The story's kind of threadbare, to be honest. But there's a really neat hook where you have to deliberately manage your weapons bit by bit. You have to load the weapons bullet by bullet by loading it in there, but with each button press. Same thing with readying the cock and firing each time. Your enemies are bound by the same rules.
That just sounds very incompatible with the twin stick shooter on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
How fast paced is this like bullet by bullet shooting thing?
Well, no, you can load up 6. I guess it is one at a time, but it's a lot more fun when it takes a little bit of time to get used to it, but once you do, it's really only a few hours long. It does unfortunately lack some kind of. It does lack polish. Like, you do have a knife, which is useful for sneaking up behind guys and stabbing them, but you can't walk any slower than the one speed. I mean, they do try telling some kind of interesting story, but all that really does is fling you around the map into a different scenario. Okay, now kill these guys with this, with these shotguns and whatever. Then eventually the game just kind of ends. Like, I thought we were okay. You know what? Fine. The plot doesn't matter. You find out that you were ahead of a bunch of bandits, and you got caught, and that's why you were thrown into some mines and whatever else. And you figure you're going to get revenge on all these parties by blowing them all up in this abandoned town, but you get double crossed at the last second. But you don't really see any of that, because once you hit a point in the last level, everything just blows up, and you get like these passive aggressive text scroll and credits scroll, and I'm like, I didn't do something right. So okay, maybe I didn't make it to the point in time. There's dynamite in this town. I got to rush through this. So I did the last part again, and same result. And then I looked up. No, that's the ending.
I was gonna say this for a second. You were making it sound like Mexican Django Unchained, and I was kind of like really into that. But now with this sort of without the satisfying ending of Django Unchained, I don't think I don't know, right?
I mean, I paid $2 for this. I had fun for $2, but they want $10 for this. Don't give them $10. If you're mildly curious, give them $2.
I have to know, what did the passive aggressive credits say? Was it like?
Well, you ever get the bad ending of a thing, and then it just does the credit scroll, like, they go try again, whatever. You didn't really get the real ending, like you have to go back and do whatever you're really supposed to do. That's kind of what this was. You get a text scroll saying, okay, it blew up, and you were probably in it, or were you, ...
Did they not finish the game then? Did they just run out of game?
That's the thing. I think they kind of ran out of time and money, and which is too bad, because I had fun while it was there, but
I feel ungratified for you.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to hear
$2 on worse, much worse, but
I mean, I guess, but like, geez, at least give me a wrap up.
But after saying all that loud, I'm not as enthusiastic as I was when I was writing all that. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm about to hear about some indie hidden gem here. No, I'm not. Apparently not.
This is indie sit and rock. You know, you can have a nice seat on this for a few minutes while you wait for your latest update to load on something else. I don't know.
What's that graphic novel adventure thing we liked a couple years ago? It takes place in San Diego. They went camping.
White Ocean Big Jacket.
Yeah, White Ocean Big. I was like, okay, we paid a couple bucks for that, right? Like, you can always find some like hidden gem, but I guess this wasn't one of them.
It was fine, but now that I said all that, buyer beware, I guess.
I think it just clicked 12 is better than 6 because you've got a 6 shooter, but then it's a twin stick shooter, so it's 6 times 2. That's the idea?
Yes, that's the conceit.
Oh, God, I'm smart.
There's a line I now want to repeat from Django Unchained that I am allowed to say, but I will not make my co-hosts uncomfortable, so I will not say it. So, but anyone who is a big fan of that movie like I am, 6 shots, 2 guns, yeah, you'll know what the hell I'm talking about. Anyway.
Steve is not going to repeat the line for everyone at home.
I would never ask you to do such a thing. Is that it? You got?
Oh, that's it. That's it from me.
Okay. Me and Kevin are going to talk about Gran Turismo 7, but before that, I played a couple, couple quickie things, mostly actually while waiting for all day for Gran Turismo 7 to unlock at 9 p.m. Pacific. I was just dinking around on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Nintendo Switch Online app, and I was like, you know what? I have not played StarFox since it came out. I love this game, and I just have not played it since 93. Let's give it a go. So I gave it a go. Man, that holds up. You wouldn't think something... Obviously, the frame rate now is ghastly. It was ghastly at the time, but now it's just like, whoo, right? But there's something to be said for the way they knew their limitations so well. Those enemies and stuff are crafted so polygonally and like angular in a way that they knew that's all they could do. So they made it's incredible how much they really conveyed to the player with something so limited, and I didn't really appreciate it that way at the time. It was just like, well, this is how it has to look. And then you look at other stuff and it's like, no, this could have actually been a complete mess, and it wasn't. They understood the limitations well, and that's the good thing about that era, to really know that stuff. And so, I don't know, it just, as a rail shooter that takes, 30 to 60 minutes to beat, depending on the path you take, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. It's still a good one. The cinematic quality of it is great, too. Like, I always love that initial, it just looks so like coldly sci-fi, and flashes like scramble on the screen. They just kind of like the ships are going down I always love that stuff. It hits this note that's like very clinical, but also kind of really cool. So that was a fun revisit.
I've got a question here, and maybe this is heresy. This maybe you're the wrong person to ask this to. Is it possible that like 10 to 20 frames per second on that game like transcend from like just being a shitty annoying frame rate and like almost add to the aesthetic of it? Is that
I'm gonna say no. I understand what you're saying though. I do get, and if you feel that way, I would not begrudge you for that. I think though, I've talked about this before, one of my like most wanted remakes is StarFox, but keep the same graphics, just up the frame rate to 60 or 120 depending on the system we're on, right? Make it 4K, obviously. Don't touch a fucking single thing else. That's all I want.
That would be cool. I just feel like there's a big difference from like, playing something at 30 and it dropping to 20 and it feels very intrusive, where this is just like consistently horrible frame rate to the degree where it just, it doesn't even seem like shitty frame rate, that it's so shitty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because oftentimes it's in the single digits. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it's really low.
I've never like play StarFox and go, okay, this is really, really annoying.
No, I did. I definitely didn't feel it because that's the game. Like we can't complain about it too much. But yes, no, I get what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree, but I understand. Another game, and I basically played most of this because I played it before. I basically played most of this while just sitting like for the last couple hours waiting for Gran Turismo 7 to unlock, which is Demon's Crest. One of my favorite 16-bit games, period. If you don't know what Demon's Crest is by now, it's made its reappearance so many times. At the time, though, not much of a, not very notable. But if you don't know what it is, hey, though, if you've ever gotten far enough in a ghouls and ghosts and goblins, whatever you want to call it, game, to get wrecked by a red devil, you get to play as that red devil in a fun little adventure game. You get to fly over a Mode 7 map, do fun stuff, hear really great music. It's one of the best adventures you can have on a 16-bit system. I thought that at the time. I still think that now. I hadn't really played all the way through it since back then. I think it's on the SNES Classic. I played a good chunk of it, and I hadn't really touched it on this app. But I did then, and man, just excellent stuff all around. It costs you $0 to play it because I know you already have a Nintendo Online subscription. Everybody, you want that game, it's there for you, Demon's Crest.
Expert in Super Nintendo note, it is not, in fact, on the Super Nintendo Classic.
It is not. How did I... Oh, I may have played it again on 3DS. It may have been on Virtual Console 3DS.
It sure was.
Yes, I think that's how I played it before this then. Because I knew it was more recent than like Wii Virtual Console or something. I just couldn't picture what. But anyway. But that's about it for until we get to the cars, the entity known as Car. But Kevin, I think you have something to talk about before that.
Sure. Well, we're banging on 16-bit stuff. I was getting a little bit of current gen fatigue, so I fired up the Genesis collection on Switch, and I was going to give Beyond Oasis a try. I've always kind of admired that game from afar, and I've always heard super good things about it. Right off the bat, I cannot understand. I swear to God, it's been probably between 5 and 10 times. Anytime online that I hear that game come up, they always have to compare it to Link to the Past and say, "Oh, this was the Genesis answer to Link to the Past." And I feel like you could make that same comparison with fucking Street Fighter 2 and it would make as much sense. I don't understand it at all.
I don't get it either.
These are the 3/4 angle top down adventure game, and sometimes you use a sword.
You're a top down guy with a really small sword, just like Link to the Past.
I mean, aesthetically, it's not even similar at all. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't get that.
Light Crusader, definitely Link to the Past. It's just stupid. Anyway,
the game does seem to have universal praise. I looked it up after I started because that was the feeling I got. And yeah, it's sitting at 92 or something on Metacritic. I didn't realize that these two are very large beyond Oasis critics. I don't think it's terrible. I think it's totally serviceable, but I don't think it's this 90+ game. Primarily because the combat is miserable. I think that there's kind of this 3-tier system on there, where if you're just standing up, that's an attack on one level. Sometimes you've got to be jumping and attacking, and then also sometimes for snakes or zombies coming out of the ground or whatever, you've got to be crouching and attacking. There's probably a way to do that properly, but this game definitely didn't figure it out. It's very clunky. There's no fluidity between moving between these 3 levels, and if you are if you're crouched trying to attack and you get hit by anything, you're immediately back up to standing level, and there's this stilted delay before you can get back down and crouch, and then you've got hit 2 more times anyways. So I don't know. I've done the first 3 dungeons of it, and I don't think that the game is hard, and it's not frustrating. It's just agitating. I just feel a little bit pissy when I'm playing it. I keep saying I'm going to go back to it. But now we're probably getting on a week that it's been sitting there, and I don't know if I'm getting back to it or not. Overall, I do like the aesthetic. I think it looks good. The music is really good on it. I don't really like the like super large sprites on it necessarily, and I think that kind of maybe adds to the clunkiness a little bit. But a lot of that I think is maybe just like a personal preference thing. I think if they would have made those sprites half the size, it would have been a lot more fitting for the world, because the world looks great.
I mostly agree with you. I'm definitely more down on it than you. First of all, the music is great because it's by Yuzo. I don't know if you knew that, but it is. And then, yeah, it's just too much. All the things you said, like, add up to just a really miserable experience. Like you said, combat is miserable. And I just find, honestly, just like wandering around not interesting either. I don't really like the world enough to like really just spelunk around and look at cool stuff. I don't know, man.
That's totally fair, because I think that world looks cool, but there's it's also got like 4 different tones to it, and once you've seen each of those 4 tones, like that's what it is, unless I'm have radically missed something so far.
When I was giving it a shot in the Genesis collection on Switch, I was like, okay, it's not terrific, but it's not bad, so I'll see through it. And then it got bad, and this I gotta find the clip.
Oh, it was, I'm telling you, it was so funny. Oh, I remember that clip. It is burned into my brain.
To live in modern times where I can pinpoint the exact moments of, this is where I said no more.
Yep. I've hit that too. Now it's like, wow. Yeah, you know what? That's kind of a different discussion, but it's like, yeah, those moments in games where it's like, wow, I am never playing this again. I'm turning this off and I'm never playing this again. Like, and that was one of them. I'm glad you shared it with us. Okay. We've waited long enough, Kevin. We've got to talk about Gran Turismo 7.
I want Steve to go get a beer while we're doing this and take a drink every time you talk about graphics on PlayStation 5.
Oh my god. Okay, fine. Let's start there. Let's just start with graphics on PlayStation 5. Because Jesus fucking Christ, PlayStation 5. Good God. Get me. I mean, Kevin, have you seen this game?
You know what? What I had in the notes was graphically and performance-wise, this is the most impressed I've ever been with a full-fledged game. And I had to add the full-fledged game in there because of that Matrix demo that recently came out. But aside from that, yeah. One thing that I was super impressed, and I don't even know how to describe this, because I can't like quantify it as an actual graphical thing. Because lots of games have done this for many years, but you get the like sun glare off the car in front of you, and this is the first time I've ever actually had this sensation where I'm like, my eyes. Yeah. Or there's been like in real life, if you're especially like out of the city, if you're driving like right at dusk, it feels like it's so much worse than driving like in the dark with headlights on or in the daylight, because everything is like just dark enough that it's this like uncomfortable shade of blue, and you just can't make out details in anything. And this game like absolutely nailed that. I've never seen that before. And again, I can't say like, something looks so good in this game. It's just got, I think a lot of it's like the weather system that's built in. It's not just like pure like graphics powerhouse that's doing that. There's a lot of, I don't know, is strong art direction the like right way to qualify that?
Yes, I think it is. And also because it's not just going for realism, they hit the right realistic notes to make it look so fucking cool. Like you were saying about that tint of blue, that dawn, or you know what I mean, the sun just about to come up. So like at PlayStation 5 launch, there was Dirt 5. And Dirt 5 is a really impressive game. That even runs at 120 frames a second. That was a game changer. And there's like all sorts of crazy weather effects and snow and stuff like that. They're just like going all over the place as you're doing these like long courses. Obviously, Gran Turismo 7 is a lot more restrained than that because they're trying to do something a little more true to life, but that's the impressive part, that they don't, it would be so easy for them to do like these torrential rainfalls that look like a fucking noir movie from the 40s, you know what I mean? But no, it's like really, the skies are just gray. It's not like these big like thundering in the background or something. That makes when something that is really cool happens like, in real life, it's like, whoa, it impresses you just like real life. An example of that is like you were saying with the Dawn, but for me it was when I was doing this course the other night, and it was like kind of dusk or whatever, and it was like nighttime by the time I got around to the fourth and fifth lap. As soon as the sky went totally dark, fireworks started to happen. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. And they look so fucking big and bright in the sky, you know what I mean? They just hit that perfect realistic note, because I wasn't expecting them. And then, like, two, they just look so good, and the brightness of it. I think, and you were talking about the reflection off the car. I think this game makes the best use of HDR I have ever seen.
Yeah,
you know, like that's, if you want to see a case for HDR, why people like I don't understand. This will sell you. Oh my god.
Just while you're on the fireworks and we're talking the wow moments, I had a similar thing the other day, and it was a lot less. It wasn't scripted at all, but I was driving, and all of a sudden I had this like very clear and well defined shadow of an airplane pass like right over top of where I was driving, and it almost like scared the shit out of me. But it felt like it wasn't like, it didn't feel like it was like inserted to be a spectacular moment. It felt very, very natural. Yeah,
I love, like, those are the really impressive things about the graphics. Like you said, the weather, and it almost sounds kind of rote to talk about like the realism of the driving, but that almost, I don't know, to like people who don't play like racing sims, they always sound kind of like unapproachable, because they probably think of like those F1 games where it's like, you better pit at exactly the right time or your tires are going to wear out or you're going to blow up. That will not happen to you in Gran Turismo. You know what I mean? So it's not that fucking, bitchy with you. At the same time, I've gotten into the sim elements more than ever. Like, I'm doing like car tuning. I've never done that in a game. Even in games where it's like they want you to, I'm like, fuck it, I'll just wing it. I ain't digging through all those numbers and menus, right? I'm doing it. They didn't tell me to do it. I'm just doing it because I want to just dig in there and see what I can do. And they explain, if you want an explanation of every single number on there, they'll give it to you. That's also the thing that's really great about the game, is that they will give you as much information as you want to have, but they're not like throwing it at you. This means this and this. No, if you want it, you can look at it. I think that's great.
I haven't quite got there. I'm still quite at the level where I want to bring my PP up and bring my PP up. And then once it hits a certain level, I want to bring my PP down a little bit so it's not too high.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm just trying to do that as economically as responsible as possible.
I don't know if you got into races where you have PP caps.
I have.
Okay, yeah. It's like, you better bring your PP right under this line. PP can't be taller than this. This is my favorite game that has PP, by the way. I think it's, what is that, performance points? My previous favorite game was Fantasy Star Universe, had PP, if like photon points, basically MP. But it's like, oh man, I'm out of PP. I gotta go back to the town. Man, we had a field day with that.
Oh, it's never gonna get old.
Oh no, you're never too old to say PP and laugh. Except Steve, apparently. He doesn't think the PP's funny.
What are you talking about? My favorite game uses PP instead of MP.
What uses PP? Oh, Pokemon uses PP?
Well, that does, but Earthbound.
Oh, Earthbound does use PP. That's right. Okay, anyway. Speaking of Earthbound, actually, I said that as a joke, but actually, speaking of Earthbound, one of the cool things I like, and you've been messing with this a lot too, the community for this game is like really excellent. You can go online and find all sorts of liveries of any manner of like weeb-tastic thing you want to put on your car, or just like,
this is
it's excellent.
A very necessary time to plug. Go and download the Fine Time Camaro.
Oh yes, Camaro Z28. Go, if you guys are playing the game, you will find Kevin's Fine Time library. If you want to download that, it is excellent. Just search Fine Time. Yeah, that stuff is really fun. We've had a lot of fun with like the Jurassic Park trucks and stuff. I don't have a Jeep yet, but like I would love to try it on, an actual Jeep. I haven't tried to mess with the livery stuff too much yet. I've just been going online and saying like, what do I want on my car? What do I want on my DeLorean today? Yes, people have made Weeb DeLoreans. It is really one of them. I was actually called Weeb DeLorean. That's what he named. That's what he named the design. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Anyway, I want to talk a bit about the music because obviously there's like a lot of like, licensed music and just stuff while you're driving, and a lot of like weird pop punk stuff that I was like not into myself. So I turned a lot of it off. But you can go in and turn off the songs that you don't like. But I really like the original pieces for the game. I am in love with like when you're doing like a cup. And you get those like pre-race like rolling start song, and then like that is also like I love those like 3-part phrases like after you win. You have like the replay one, then you show the placement, then you have your guy like sort of slow-mo celebration with like your placement. All those have its own particular like music phrase, and they blend into each other in a way that organically, when you press the X button to continue, it kind of goes to the next piece or just sort of slips into it depending on the meter or bar that it's at, which is like not an easy thing to do at all. I mean, it's not the first game to do this, but like it's just impressive, and it's that like those little extra bits of polish that is like excellent. Also, and I think you might agree with me on this, I love the song when you get like a silver license test way more than gold. Silver, it's
I never even noticed this. I heard you say that a few times. I'll take your word. I have not got a lot of golds, to be fair. So.
Okay.
Andre, I gotta say, it sounds like you're just bitter about not getting too many golds.
No, look. Okay, fine. You want me to not so humble brag? I've gotten my fair share of golds, okay? I've gotten quite a few golds. Not a whole bunch, but I've gotten them.
No, it's fine. That's fine. I don't need your stinking gold medal. The silver medal music's better anyway.
Oh yeah.
We can't move too far on from this pop punk thing because I have a note in here that says anything negative I have to say is definitely nitpicking because the experience is incredibly solid and polished. But if there was anything, like the amount of like horrible fucking pop punk on that soundtrack, like there's even like pop punk I could deal with if this was like comparable to Blink 182. But I just feel like I'm in a fucking fever dream of good Charlotte for hours on end with the soundtrack, and I feel like it's frustrating too because like a premium car game like that those used to be the games that had the bitchin' soundtracks like those and the like extreme sports like skateboarding and BMX type games, and if they would have really put some effort into having a cool soundtrack, they could have done, or even just like a little bit more well-rounded out genre wise.
Yeah, so. There's just a lot of that stuff. I wanted more like you guys know me, I like the dance stuff when it comes to that. So I wanted more like house music and more like, you know what I mean? Not that they have to go like totally like trance with it, but like there's a couple of house songs in there, but not very much.
I haven't fucked around. What is it? The music rally mode, or what is that like other mode where you have to like do the like check? Because they have some cool music in there that's the like classical like techno remixes or what have you. And then some of that's really interesting.
Well, like in the 70s, it was like kind of a thing to put like classical music with like disco versions, you know what I mean? So I think that's like kind of what they're trying to do, but yeah, that stuff is fun. It's just basically like a time trial thing, you know what I mean? Almost like a timer at the arcade. Oh god, you're gonna run out of, quote unquote fuel if you don't get to the next checkpoint, that kind of thing. So it's just a fancy version of that in a Gran Turismo way. I know we haven't talked about gameplay too much, but what the hell do you say about Gran Turismo? It's Gran Turismo as you've ever wanted it. You know what I mean? This is, if you've strayed away like I have from like 5, 6 in sport because they just didn't give you what you want, you're back now, baby. I'm back. I have not cared this much since 4 and Tourist Trophy.
Well, and I think it is worth mentioning that even for modern day games, like it's becoming much more and more rare that there's not like something that seems like it's a little bit off or it's a little bit missing or it needs a like 1 weekend patch. I have not seen a single thing in this game period that seems like it needs to be patched out. There's no hiccups. There's no like nothing weird. Everything is 100% done properly. That's really cool.
Yes. And Yeah, because I would have expected this game to come out like for last holiday season, but I think they delayed it to March for a reason, and this is the reason, and I'm glad they did. One more thing I got to say, if you have anything to say on top of this, is that like I really love that this game more than ever before, cars are the point. And I'm not a car person. I don't really care about cars like that. But the focus of this game is the cars, not the races. You have your Daytona, you have your Laguna Seca, you have your Nuremberg, whatever that's called in Germany, right? Suzuka in Japan. But like, those aren't the real focus. The focus is the cars, and everything you do in like quote unquote story mode is about that. Just like listening to these like graphic novel type cardboard cutout characters just telling you all this text about like just geeking out about cars, and even just talking to the people like pre-race and stuff. I really enjoy that stuff. I really like hearing other, you know what I mean? I was going to say other people, but I guess that's a testament to the game, right? I'm thinking of them as actual people, you know? And I think I really like the presentation in that respect.
I think as far as the like car history stuff, I'm definitely not getting into that as much as you. I think it's really cool for the people that want it there, and I think it is implemented really well, especially with that whole cafe system. I don't think even with the preview I like fully had my head wrapped around how that cafe was going to work, but I think that was the right place to do it. That being said, like, you know, when I get to the guy telling me about Porsches for like, you know, 1 minute with all the slides, I'm kind of just like mashing through going, okay, yeah, the Porsches are cool. That's nice.
Yeah, I don't care too much, but I do like to look at the graphics on PlayStation 5. Yeah. So like I do kind of go slow through them because I do some nice zoom ins and stuff. But yeah.
It's definitely more about the aesthetic than it is about the like deep lore and like whoever invented the Porsche or whatever. But good for them.
Exactly.
When you the presentation, I wanted to get a little bit more into that because I was with the previews for this, I was probably more critical on it than I am now. I think that like kept kind of calling it sterile, and I think I would move that word to premium quite likely. So it works out fairly well. It all, you know, feels pretty elegant. The only thing that I felt like there was kind of a disconnect, and you already touched on this, but it seemed more favorably when you have the little icon people, which I started really liking those little icon people as well, because I felt like I was getting to know them. And Solus, that guy, like he definitely, I would have beers with him on the weekend. He's cool.
Well, yeah, I think they wanted to make the token American in the game definitely.
Oh yeah,
a weird pothead. Yeah,
right. Oh yeah, he's definitely token.
as weird pothead as you could be in a game rated E for everyone. So like, yeah.
But a lot of the like quote unquote dialogue, that's how it's presented, feels very robotic and very like informative. Definitely not in a way that I can like in my head read as somebody speaking. It definitely feels like something that, you know, somebody wrote in their office and put into the game. So that was, I didn't feel like that was done perfectly.
Yeah,
but again, nitpicking big time.
Right. We're like, this is a 10 out of 10. We're just defining a few little, you know what I mean? But yeah, this is so uniformly excellent a game that geez. I mean, I know it's so early, but if there's going to be a better game than this year, I can't imagine, for me anyway. So
now I don't know if sometime down the road if getting an Xbox in some form is in your future, but I would be really curious to see you looking at Forza Horizon 5 and comparing it to this, because they're wildly different games. But when I think about those two games, honestly, I don't think I could pick one over the other. This is definitely more of a realistic premium feeling game. When I think about Forza Horizon 5, as far as like pure fun, I probably had more pure fun there, but I don't know. I'm just curious because you've kind of talked about this as like, this is one of the most definitive games of this generation already. And I'm curious kind of like how you would feel in retrospect comparing the two.
Yeah, I have never, God, I think I played Forza 2 on 360 a very long time ago. It was on 360, right? I'm not making that up. Like, but yeah, Forza 2 was. Okay, yeah, it's my only Forza experience. I really don't remember how much I played or what I did, so I have nothing to really compare it to in that regard. But yeah, if I ever do, for sure. I think we should stop talking about Car for now. I'm sure we will again in the future. Go
But
back
not
to the
stop
entity known
talking
as
about
Car.
graphics on PlayStation 5.
Oh, we will. Yeah, we are not done talking about graphics on PlayStation 5. We'll be right back. Alright, boys and girls, or whatever else you identify yourself as, that's also cool. We are back. And there was a state of play last week, a PlayStation state of play, and wow, it was actually good. So we want to talk about it. Usually on these things, the state of play happens, and we talk about it for like 2 seconds, and blah, blah, blah. And then, we're on to the next thing. No, we really want to get into this thing. So let's start at the beginning and maybe what's going to be the best game of all time. So, they start with this trailer. A black hole opens in the sky, and just thousands of dinosaurs start pouring out of it. And then it says, like, Capcom presents. We're all thinking the same thing, right? Like, nobody on God's green earth brain didn't just go Dino Crisis, right?
I sure did.
Did you, Kevin? I mean, like, okay.
I did.
At that point, though, let's just, before we get to the rest of it, did you actually think it was Dino Crisis?
I totally did.
Yeah. Okay. Because I wasn't sure. Because, like, I didn't ever think they would do something so ridiculous in Dino... Because, Dino Crisis is more survival horror, right? But you can, it's been so long, you can take it in any direction you want. And, don't forget, Dino Crisis 3 was in space, right? So maybe I never played Dino Crisis 3, but maybe a dinosaur black hole anomaly happened in 3, and now we're seeing the results of it.
I was ready to accept that as fact. Yes.
Okay, I couldn't be the only one thinking that. Anyway, it's called Exoprimal. It really should just be called Dino Crisis Online or whatever. I don't know. Apparently, it's some sort of like PvPvE kind of online thing. And y'all are playing this with me. I'm not asking. I'm telling. Like, you're going to play this with me. I will buy it for you if I have to.
This does not seem like a Kevin game, I don't think, but we'll see.
Well, you're getting a very early birthday or Christmas or whenever this comes out present. Like, it's happening. I don't know what to tell you.
Alert for everyone at home. I am buying a PS5 soon, and yes, I will be joining Andre in Exoprimal Land, and they do have a year to change the... It's not coming out till next year, so that gives them a whole year to maybe rethink and... Maybe they call it Dino Crisis, the Exoprimal by then. Who knows?
If they just call it Dino Crisis, like a reboot, just call it Dino Crisis, nobody will notice that it was ever called Exoprimal. Nobody will care. They can just call it that, right?
I'm just saying, it's not coming out next week. It's coming out next year. They could change the title. No one's stopping them.
All they got to do is add like real shitty tank controls, and there you go.
Yeah. You mean great tank controls? What are you talking about? God, we need to argue about that for an hour sometime, by the way. Remind me. Or maybe don't. Anyway, that looks super cool. I'm into it. Also, so after that, they showed Ghostwire Tokyo for the 1400th time. Usually, this is something I made fun of with Deathloop, but like, look, it's a PS5 exclusive for now anyway. I know they're going to push it, and that's fine. But the last couple of showings, and especially this one, they finally showed gameplay. For a long time, it was just like, look at these streets of, Tokyo or whatever, and it's just like, okay, fine, whatever. But now that they've actually showed it, I'm interested. Last night, I slapped down that digital pre-order, so I'm doing it. So next show, I will be talking about this. And I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, I know, Steve, you don't got the system yet, but like, what do you guys hear? I'm here for this.
Well, thanks to Deathloop, I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. I think it's coming.
No.
It was coming to PS5 at some point.
Might be.
I knew Ghostwire Tokyo existed. I remember them being all on the stage showing up. I'm like, this looks neat. Let's file it away in the back of my head, and then I have to be reminded it exists every few months.
But did we first see this? Like, that's got to be like over 2 years ago. I feel like at this point, it's been quite a while. This has been kicking around.
Yeah, that's probably
because when they first showed it, they were being cagey about what system it was for because PS5 hadn't technically been announced yet, so they weren't like. So everyone just assumed it was like for PS4 or something, I guess, or whatever.
Is this cross-gen?
It is not. It is only PS5.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Yeah,
it's on my list. To answer your question.
So you guys are into it. Kevin, I mean, I don't know.
You know what? I just talked about kind of having this like new shit fatigue. So maybe if it wasn't for that, I think it looks cool. It seems like the combat has like a lot of systems going on, and it makes me a little bit curious how well all of that's going to play together. But that's based off pretty brief clips of gameplay.
There was for Dreamcast, there was a Shin Megami Tensei spinoff called Maken X. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but this game kind of reminds me of that in a way. It was first person, and you did like that game was kind of arcadey. It's like, big guy shooting rocket launchers at you, so you take your sword and kind of slash it back at them and shit like that. If this were nowadays, that would be like a platinum game or something like that, or maybe some indie shit like Ghostwire or whatever. Anyway, I thought that Ghost Runner. I'm sorry. Ghostwire Tokyo, though, kind of gives me that Maken X vibe. Nothing else in history ever has. So maybe that's just what I'm going off of or whatever, but I'm ready for this game. But
I'm really glad that you're playing this because I'm interested to hear what you have to say about it.
Okay, well, I'll be the guinea pig on this. It comes out the same day as Kirby though, but Kirby will be done in like a weekend. So like I'm sure I can get to Ghostwire soon. But
all right, let's get all this Mickey Mouse shit out of the way, and we get the heavy hitter coming in here.
Oh boy.
Stranger of Paradise has another demo coming out. Now, I apparently there was a second one, and this is the third. I missed the second one coming out.
Me too.
But I was definitely trying to download and play the first one that they announced at the Square Enix E3 presentation last year. That was like completely fucking busted for a day, and it was like a pretty high profile issue. And then I did wind up getting to play it and thought it sucked. And I got a real good laugh that the evening that they announced this demo, they were going off on the Twitter about the problems that it was having and telling people just like restart your system or log out or whatever. So I'm pretty convinced that if you buy and play this game, it's just going to make your PlayStation self-destruct and burn your house and all of your loved ones down with it. So I am curious, like,
even Bell
I don't know,
Wonderworld didn't do that.
like what amount of issues that they've had so far. Like, do you think this game is actually going to be broken as fuck, or are they going to pull it out at the last minute?
I mean, it seems like that's not the case because like it seems like everyone playing this isn't reporting. I think everyone's just talking about how stupid the game is, so I don't think it has any like real bugs. I think everyone's just like amazed that this is a product that exists on planet Earth, which makes it seem like it's something I should play when it gets to be like $10.
Did you play the demo? This demo?
I did play the demo.
Okay, so good. Because after you like guilted me into playing it, I thought that you were just like,
no, I wouldn't
Kevin's
say that. I'm not going to leave you hanging. Even if we didn't actually talk about it on the show today, I was going to play it. I'm not going to. Okay. We're going to have that experience together.
What did you think about it compared to the first demo?
You know what? For me, it was like basically the same thing. The combat feels a lot cleaner. Before, it just felt kind of unfair. They really wanted you to have these like really tight windows of like, oh, you better counter at this exact. I mean, you still kind of do that, but there's a lot more leeway now. I was playing on normal, by the way. I don't know what you played on.
I played on normal until I got to Garland, and I tried that Garland fight like. 8 fucking times, and so I've talked about before that I never want to like decrease the difficulty down on anything. I'll just stop playing it if it's too hard because I like feel shitty. But I was like, I don't give two fucks about this game, so I put it on easy. There's like a huge gap in difficulty between like experience the story mode and normal, because normal is tough as fuck, and when I put on experience the story, I like beat him down and didn't take any damage basically.
Kevin,
did you? Sorry, go ahead.
Kevin, I've seen some interesting clips online. Do I really want to experience the story?
I think the story is like definitely the weakest part, and we talked a little bit ago about The Last of Us, and Andre was saying, you know, I didn't like any of the characters. I didn't really like any of the characters either, but I've never had a problem with unlikable characters making me not want to play a game until this. The main character Jack is like the most unlikable character that I've ever seen in a game. Like he like not only is he just like, oh, you know, they like everybody's making fun about the like I want to kill chaos thing, but like that was not overblown. Like he says that like every 30 seconds the whole fucking time. Yes. And other than that, he's just like douchey, and he just looks like an asshole. Like this is, if I worked with this guy, I would like want to punch him in the face.
Yeah, he's a dick, and not in like the fun way that, like, you know, Dante's kind of a dick, but also like charming and funny or whatever. You know what I mean? Like not like that at all. This guy's just dour and annoying,
sullen and bitchy.
I didn't know we were out here in these streets still making PS2 games, Kevin. I mean, my God.
Yeah,
like, this is
really
like total,
ugly.
Yeah, it's not just ugly. It's the most 2000s edgelord, like, you know what I mean? Look, we all grew up in that era, right? Like, I mean,
even tech-wise, like, I don't know, there's a lot of, like, pretty muddy textures on that demo. Oof, and just, like, really, like, jagged edges and just, like, weird. Yeah, it looks like shit.
It's the resolution is really low. Yeah. It looks like it's like 720p, maybe.
I will
really low.
I will say I'm probably a little extra salty about this because I have a really like special spot in my heart for the first Final Fantasy, and I feel like they could have done something like really, really cool with it, and to like take this and shoehorn it in there. You know what really fucking pissed me off in the demo is like you start at the town and you're in the castle and you talk to people, and then you just go to the map and fucking like select the Garland's castle up at the north instead of traveling there, and that just felt like that would have been the best fucking part of the game. And even like the time you had to explore the town, like that's what they really could have like brought out some character in this game. If you could have like, I'm trying to the second town with all of the like the pirates invade in Final Fantasy 1, and there's like the village with all the elves and shit like that. Like that would have been really cool for them to explore, but it seems like they just want to like take the dungeons and like send you there on a map and like here
it feels like this is a dungeon game. Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's any other.
I am looking forward to going on YouTube and like seeing how they handled the 4 fiends in this game, because they'll probably look pretty cool. But
those will look
that's
cool.
all I'm going to get out of it.
A rollicking chunky 720p that looks like fuzzy as hell. It's not just the resolution. It's just, I don't know, man. Something's wrong with that game. But there's something else you're not so excited about, I guess.
I don't know that I'm not excited about this. So they showed off Forspoken again, and it's been delayed from May 24th to October 11th. I don't have anything against this game. I think it's definitely got the potential to be interesting. I'm curious if you guys agree with this. Every time I've seen this game, I feel like they've done a really shitty job at showing it off. Like again, this trailer was another of the like pumping music, like cut from scene to scene to scene. Like I cannot get a sense of what this game is actually going to be like. Maybe it was even a little better at the Game Awards because there was like a little bit of like dialogue and kind of alluding to story stuff. But this is a game that I really feel like they need to show off some gameplay if they want people to get excited.
Personally, I was a lot more interested in this game when it was called Project Athia, if everyone remembers that kind of demo thing.
Sure
and
do.
Then it became Forspoken, and it became like this wisecracking American girl from the quote unquote real world who gets sucked into, you know, like Fantasyland. And I feel like the game wasn't originally supposed to be this way. It feels like some American office got a hold of, hey, you know what'll really sell? You know what I mean? This reeks of corporate meddling. That doesn't mean that the game can't be good, but it definitely feels kind of StarFox adventure-y, right? Like it's like, yeah, I don't know if this is really what this is supposed to be. I don't know why I was expecting Steve to say something after that. I guess
because I'm not entirely sure what I'm expecting either. I'm not, unlike Ghostwire Tokyo. This wasn't really instilling confidence.
Yeah,
well, it doesn't seem to have a personality yet at all.
No, it does not. Well, let's talk about something we actually like, Steve.
Oh yeah, guys, I wasn't expecting this at a Sony conference at all. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection. I'm not going to go through a rote list, but it's just about every turtle game you would ever care to think about on.
Everyone is here from that era, from the first generation of Turtles. Everyone is here.
NES games, arcade games, the 16-bit games, even the frickin' Game Boy games. Guys, it's going to cost a little bit more for, than other Konami collections at $40, but I want this, even though not on PlayStation. I want it on Switch so I can carry it around. But what do you guys think?
Oh, I grew up playing these. I don't often say stuff like that. Oh, nostalgia, but God, I'm so ready to play these again. I have never played any of these since they came out, and oh my God, Turtle Mania was like something that I've spoken about on our previous stop, and not so much here yet. But man, that shit means a lot to me. So I am ready for that. And you know what? A lot of these are really good games. It's not just I want to relive them. But and even if they're not good games, they will have some banging music. Boy, Konami did some work. Licensed games in Konami back then were just they were the best. You knew it was going to be good. And these are good. I have never played the Game Boy game. So is anyone
I played a little bit of Fall of the Foot Clan, but they'll largely be a very new experience.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward. As for your question though about the price, yeah, $40. 13 Turtles games. You get some of them I feel a little redundant to have arcade and SNES Turtles in Time, or the bane of my existence. They have the audacity for that NES game to call itself the arcade game, but we'll talk about that when it comes out. Because I was that kind of
an attempt was made, and it's hard to defend today. But it's good to have it on there. It's like the SNK collection where you had both versions of things on because you
Absolutely, and they're going to have all versions. I hope they have the European versions that are really called Hero Turtles, right? Not Ninja Turtles.
I don't know if they are. I know the Japanese versions are going to be on, and a bunch of them are going to have online play too, and that'll be good.
Right, Turtles in Time and stuff. So, Kevin, are you a Turtles person? I mean,
I really liked Turtles when I was a kid, and I think for you guys, definitely the value is there. For me, I don't have any attachment to the NES games. I'm not overly interested in playing the NES games. The Game Boy games would probably be a fun distraction for half an hour. For me, if I was going to buy this, I've got Turtles in Time on Super Nintendo here. The only value I would really get out of this is having the arcade version of Turtles in Time and the Hyperstone Heist to fuck around with that stuff. And
not even the original arcade game though.
I don't know. Maybe I've never played the original arcade game. So
I mean, Turtles in Time is better, but it's basically the same thing. You know what I mean? It's just another Turtles beat 'em up. I'm sure you'll.
I feel like if this got down to a 50% off sale, the online capability would probably get me there, but beyond that, I'm probably not willing to spend $40 American on it right now.
I get you.
Speaking of spending money, I was for you eBay warriors out there. I was looking online the other week. One of the white whales of Game Boy collecting is the third Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game for Game Boy. That's still selling for hundreds of dollars, and that's just going to be on here.
Why would anyone do whatever? I always say this every time we talk about this shit, but
I mean, I don't agree paying them. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of them are fake too. So
what a fucking racket these people are. Anyway, let's.
I'm not going to get into the whole game preservation speech again, but to have it conveniently in a collection like this will be something good. I think.
I'm gonna play all these games. Yes, I'm gonna play shit. You know what? I almost out of spite, I want to get the game on PS5 or PS4, whatever SKU it's gonna be, just so I can record a long video of me doing the water level in the second stage of the NES game to show everyone it's not that fucking hard.
Agree to disagree.
Not.
Little
It's
peek behind the
not.
curtain. This was a 45-minute conversation the other night that I did not participate in.
And rightfully so. You were
All you
I
have
just
to
kept-
do is memorize where all the bombs are and never hit the
I
seaweed. It's not
kept
that hard,
hearing
you
my
guys.
phone go off over and over, and I'd look at him like, oh yeah, they're still talking about the fucking water level. Okay.
Oh no, the seaweed is. I switch to another turtle. You have 4 turtles and 4 life bars. Switch to another turtle. How hard is that? Anyway, that's another discussion. What after the turtles thing, they showed. I guess I don't know if it's it seemed like a free update to Returnal called Returnal Ascension. I guess maybe the Ascension part refers to they're adding like an endless tower mode, as you might have seen in any number of roguelikes, so that's happening. But they're also adding campaign co-op, which is great. I have yet to beat this game. I have yet to really just sit. I love Returnal, but I've really yet to sit down and like just do it. You know what I mean? Because it's a tough game, and I'm not really always in the mood for that kind of thing. But God damn, I might this might get me back into it. I was gonna do it by myself anyway, but campaign co-op online, yeah, baby.
This did look really cool. I debated buying this when it first came out, but I knew if I bought it, it was more because I just wanted something to play on the new PS5, so I didn't. Watching that trailer for that added material was the most I actually really wanted to play this game yet.
Cool.
Returnal was one of the stronger games I felt when we were watching that PS5 conference, however far back. So I remember there being issues at launch and the company itself never doing that too hot in sales. So I was very surprised to see any sort of announcement for Returnal.
It's a hard as balls AAA roguelike. You know what I mean? There isn't a whole lot of audience for that. You know, it's only going to be so much, right?
I mean, I was buying this anyway, but more content is good.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to ask when you get the system. I figured you were going to get this, so I guess you're going to get it in a much better state than I had at launch. But okay, then we ended the thing, Steve, with like a pair of tits. No, it's not a pair of tits because tits are good.
So the Diophil Chronicle, it's a fairly bland looking SRPG, and you got Valkyrie Elysium. It's a action-oriented reimagining of the Valkyrie Profile series, and together you have like the world's worst sitcom of a very grouping of Square Enix games. Like, I was just, guys, what the hell was this? Why was this at this?
Know.
Why was this at the Sony conference? Nintendo got some great shit to show off last month from Square. What the hell's this?
Yeah.
I was surprised that you didn't get into the Diophil Chronicle when so they had an early cutscene with a couple of characters that looked really shitty, but once they got into the gameplay, my first thought was like, oh, this looks like a Steve game.
It can be but it's got a long way to go.
Because I thought it like looked pretty good, to be honest. I was surprised that you guys were so hard on it.
It looked, you ever
just
those
generic?
mobile, you know those mobile game ads that pop up on YouTube where the games don't match what the game actually is,
right,
or it changes genres several times because you're going from Western looking characters to an anime style Battlefield, and I'm like, okay, so where do I insert my money for more jewels or whatever you need me to do to let me make my move?
I'm going to look into my crystal ball and make a prediction. I think when this game comes out, you're going to be interested in it.
Am I, though? Because I got triangle
guess.
strategy to pick up and front mission. What am I going to do with basic bitch?
I don't know. I just like had a... I don't know. I seen it and I thought if I was an SRPG guy, like, I think this would look great. So, I think you're going to be there for it.
They could always clean it up. They could always clean it up. I mean, this could not be its final form.
But they have time.
It looks like it has potential.
I'm just more shocked by Valkyrie Elysium just because Valkyrie Profile is a very, like, stately, like high class sort of like 2D animation kind of thing. You know what I mean? At the time, not a big seller, obviously, in that PS1 era, whenever it came out, 99 or 2000, but just like, something people really respected and it looked cool. This just looked like something someone made in Unity. I just didn't understand. Like, I mean, I don't know. Look, and you can pull anything together. Maybe it plays okay, but as far as just like my first look at it, it just looks so gray and bland. I don't know. I just was not feeling it. I'm not even a Valkyrie Profile fan or anything. I've never even played one. I'm just saying, but just remembering the old game's art and looking at this, I'm just kind of, yeah.
I haven't either, but my question is that they just sent them to make Babylon's Fall. Why weren't they they just sent Platinum to make Babylon's Fall. Why weren't they making this?
I mean, I kind of wish that they were. If they're going to reboot Valkyrie Profile, I don't know, man. But anyway, I guess Kevin, we have some closing thoughts.
Yeah, I just kind of want to talk about how everyone thought about the quality of the state of play as a whole, because as far as I was concerned, they have always wanted to be Nintendo Direct, and this is as far as like kind of just like variety of content and specifically the pacing, this is definitely the closest that they've got. So it was, even though I didn't come away with a lot of this stuff thinking I'm going to buy this when it comes out, it was still a very enjoyable watch, and I think you guys probably felt the same.
Yeah, I definitely did. This is the first one because like they never come out guns a-blazing, and they did literally with Exoprimal, right? Like they never dropped something like that in a state of play. They got the Ninja Turtles thing, and yeah, it's coming to other platforms, but it's so important to be able to present that. That's usually Nintendo Direct turf. Mm-hmm, you know what I mean? Sure and is. Sony did it. That's great. So I thought this was a fantastic presentation. Steve?
Yeah, I thought so too. I really wasn't expecting anything. Usually when they do a state of play, it's like, okay, guys, we're having a state of play, and it's mostly going to be about Horizon Forbidden West and maybe something else. And everyone's like, oh, okay, I guess we're done with this already then.
I mean, as of this recording, Thursday, March 17th, they just had a one on Hogwarts game, right? Like it's just like 20 minutes of that, right? So it's they're back to their old tricks. Oh, I guess we're just going to show this game for. I mean, Nintendo has ones where they just show one game, direct about a game, but it's just like, I don't know. I don't think that game has the kind of panache as like,
But even when Nintendo does that, it seems like there's like related things that are snuck in there as well. Has there ever been a direct that was strictly only about one game, nothing else?
But they usually stuck them like a day or two after other directs.
What if that was like the direct? What?
There was a Splatoon 2 direct, wasn't there?
I feel
like that happened.
Splatoon 2?
At least one, but more recently there was one for Monster Hunter Rise a year or two ago.
But wasn't there like multiple Monster Hunter things that I guess I didn't watch that, so.
Well, that was when they were doing the Nintendo Direct quickie, whatever it was, where it's like 10-15 minutes of trailers, guys, and which varied from very good to what the heck are we doing this for?
They need separate branding for those kind of things, because when they did the Gran Turismo 7 one, I thought that was great. That was a good watch. But as far as like having it lumped in to be the same state of play branding, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it is weird, right? Because like the Nintendo ones always feel kind of separate, even if they're about like, oh, we're going to talk for 20 minutes about ARMS or something like that. It feels different than just like, here's State of Play, the Hogwarts edition versus like, here's State of Play. Oh, here's some actual like cool stuff. It definitely wasn't what it was, last week or whatever, right? So
they're stepping in the right direction. That's
definitely
all I was trying to say while we're running in circles.
Well, we're going to be doing a lot of running in circles with that big pink cream puff, baby. At least me and Steve will, I guess, because they dropped a demo for Kirby and I always forget the name of this game. I always say Forgotten Worlds because Capcom. I don't know why I want to do that, but Forgotten Land, I guess. Release date's next week. So I guess let me start with Steve here, since we're more Kirby people. What the hell did you think of this? I want your opinion first.
I think it's good. I just, I'm not usually into demos of things of Kirby in particular, but I mean, I thought it. I think if you were really on the fence, this should have pushed you to the other side. But Kevin, I'm too good to play Kirby. I already live a saccharine sweet lifestyle where I drink maple syrup all day. I don't need to play Kirby too.
I have real Maxim tomatoes.
I played actually me and my son, we sat down and we played the demo in 2-player, and I thought it was totally fine and enjoyable and serviceable. I felt the same way as I generally. Just to back up a little bit, the demo definitely was a lot more linear than I was expecting it to be, and maybe the game will open up a lot more. But just watching the trailers in the past, I expected this to be a lot more open than the demo was. But it's the same problem, or not even problem, I guess, just the same observation as I've always had with Kirby, where I don't tell me what Kirby does other than be charming to really excel. Even the 2D games, any of them that I've played, seems like it's pretty standard platforming fare. There's the copy abilities, and that's cool and interesting. But I nothing blows me away in most 2D Mario games.
No, you're right. It's funny and cute. That's all I want. And I think that as far as platforming, that takes you, for me anyway, that takes you all the places in the world, that can get you everywhere. The actual gameplay doesn't have to be exceptional for me. So
you know what? I'm funny and cute, so maybe I've just got enough of that in my life.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. You got your own Maxim tomatoes, you got your own Candyland aesthetic. I'm sure you live up there, up north, right? You got all the snow and you don't need Kirby. Kirby doesn't need you either.
That's exactly what life in Canada is like. Yes,
but for me, I like cuddly, cute Kirby, and the copy abilities are fun in a way that you're not usually playing the same way twice, even though it's the same levels I'm getting. I've played a lot of the early Kirby games multiple times, and it's felt fresh every time that way.
Do you guys think this is going to outsell Star Allies? I mean, Star Allies sold about 3 million copies, and it seems, I asked this just because it seems these days we don't give a whole lot of big sales to I don't know, how much did Yoshi's Crafted World sell? A game that I think is excellent, by the way. You want to talk about aesthetic over yeah, it's still the same Yoshi gameplay, but that's one of the best aesthetics I've seen in a video game, period. I think that game is exceptional. But it probably didn't sell all that much, right? I know Kirby's more popular than that, but
I'm surprised that Star Allies sold 3 million, to be honest. I would, without knowing that, I would say definitely that this would sell more, just because this feels much more like a premium title to me, and that it's probably going to get much more marketing behind it as well.
Yeah.
I'd like to believe it's going to, but who knows anymore?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, things can kind of stall out. I don't know. We'll see. If this game is as good as I think it's going to be, not that I think it's going to be the best or anything, but a good Kirby adventure in the third dimension. By the way, Kevin, before we move on, I think I like the more linear experience. I don't think I would want a Kirby game to be open like a Mario game tends to be. I think this.
If this would have been Kirby Odyssey, I probably could have been sold on that demo for sure.
Okay, I understand that. I'm not saying they can't pull that off, but I like that they're kind of, okay, we're trying this out, and they're not trying to do too far outside of their means. But anyway, Kevin, got the next question.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So Russia has effectively legalized piracy as a workaround to sanctions, and not just sanctions. Numerous entertainment companies, including Microsoft and Sony, have suspended sales of digital and hardware items in Russia for very obvious reasons. The Russian government has announced that Russian companies have no obligation to pay patent holders for the use of intellectual property from any countries that have sanctioned the country, again, thus essentially legalizing piracy. And apparently there was a Russian politician that even suggested that the country may unblock the torrenting site RuTracker or RuTracker to help Russians pirate digital files. So I don't even know. I guess if you guys want to take this question in any direction you feel is appropriate, But with imposing these sanctions, and then private companies suspending sales of items, being obviously very well justified in an effort to increase pressure on the government to stop committing crimes against humanity. There's definitely a sizable portion of Russians that are very clearly against what the government is doing, and going to great personal risk to argue against it, and get thrown in jail and fined, and like who knows what else. So for those people specifically that are outright opposing what Russia is doing, what is the moral obligation of them to kind of navigate this newly found legalized piracy? Because it is shitty for those people that they don't have the ability to get these entertainment properties, especially with how shitty living there would be right now, and all of the economic issues and moral issues. But again, those sanctions and suspensions of sales are there for a reason. So I don't know. I don't even know how to reconcile this myself.
I am okay with this. I think, like you said, it's government, right? It's not against Russian people or Russian, you know what I mean? Like, and the people are suffering for this because they live there. So you know what? I'm fine. I think this is, I mean, if like, obviously, like you said, PS5 sales, if the only way you can get Gran Turismo 7 right now is pirating some misbegotten, PS4 version from God knows wherever, have at you. Your country's at war. I mean, not the whole country. Russia's a big place, but you know what I mean? Like, maybe the danger isn't near you, but you're still being affected by this. I'm generally for anything that is for the people. So I'm okay with this.
What about you, Steve?
I mean, pretty much what Andre just said. You're not sitting home. You're not sitting home in America going, you know what? I don't want to pay $60 for Metroid Dread. I'm gonna steal it from the internet. No, you can't pay for it right now. War is a lot more nuanced than we can get into on this show, as a bunch of guys talking about video games can possibly get into. If doing Russian piracy is how you're gonna pass the time, if you're not directly in there right now, I mean, yeah, that's what this is all kind of for.
I fully agree with that. I guess just where it gets complicated is that, by doing that, it is carrying out the function that the Russian government wants it to, by alleviating that pressure that's caused by like that end of the sanctions. So I don't know that this is like a chicken before the egg thing that you can go back and forth on forever.
Yeah,
but it's interesting, I guess, to think about from a moral perspective. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Originally my question for this topic was why is Russia preserving games so fucking hard right now? But I decided to take it in a little bit more of an intellectual direction. So,
all right, one more question before we move on. Video Games Chronicle reported that the Perfect Dark remaster, I guess announced maybe about a year and a half ago, it's in big trouble, everybody. The director left the studio working on it. The studio working at The Initiative. He left the studio, I want to say maybe a few days ago. And the design director left about this time last year to go back to Insomniac Games, where he came from. And like roughly half the staff has left during this project too, mostly apparently because Crystal Dynamics was called on as like a co-developer for this Perfect Dark remaster, and that is not going well with with the people at The Initiative, because like Crystal D is just doing, they're dictating from the top, like, okay, this is what we need to do now, and then the Initiative is kind of like, we kind of just do our own thing here, and they're being dictated to all of a sudden by like, this is your project, and then someone else is brought on, now they're telling you what to do. Obviously that would cause a big rub with everybody, and it's in trouble right now. That doesn't mean that the game is going to be trash or anything, obviously, but like, who knows? I mean, but I guess I'm bringing this up because do you really think this is going to pull itself together? Also, like, DGAF, like, is this something like you guys are ever excited for a Perfect Dark? I don't give a shit about Perfect Dark. That's why I'm asking you guys. So, like,
there is a small space in my rare loving heart that really wants this to succeed. even though there's no one from back then working on this now. But who the heck knows? I mean, Metroid Prime almost failed, and we all know how that turned out. So, there's always a chance. I want to believe there's always a chance, but who knows?
Are you a Perfect Dark person, Kevin, or like? Because I don't.
I've played Perfect Dark on N64 here and there. I as a sidebar, probably like the hardest I laughed on the recent Castlevania GBA episode that you did with Trey was when he talked about having it on Game Boy Color.
Oh,
I did not have that. I didn't have that unfortunate circumstance, luckily. But as far as like will it pull itself together, I think it is a 100% certainty that it will pull itself together, because I think the initiative was like a thing that Microsoft specifically set out in mind to like try and do something special with, to get rid of this like continuing to rely on the same like heavy hitting franchises generation after generation. So I think if the entire initiative falls apart, Microsoft's, while they're out buying Activision's and Bethesda's, they're just going to keep throwing money at it until it builds itself back up and it like fits in all of the boxes that they say that the what's the word, like focus group feedback says that it needs to be. That's what they're going to do. Do I care? I actively don't care about this, and it's not because I have a bone to pick with Perfect Dark, but, and I mentioned this to you guys the other night, I really felt like when they announced this at the Game Awards, was that 2020?
I think so.
I was a little bit offended because I thought like the spirit of the initiative and kind of what they like built this thing up to be would have been to like start developing new IPs. And so to just like take an old Rare thing and like try and do like, what, fine. I'm sure that could have certainly been cool, but it just wasn't like exciting to me. Like, okay, great. You're bringing Perfect Dark back, especially after like Perfect Dark 0. And, they kind of already like drove that franchise into the ground for a lot of people.
Yeah, also especially like this is supposed, like, not only are they making him do an old IP, then they bring in Crystal D to dictate to them. You know what I mean? Like on top of it. It just feels, and that's what I'm sort of leading towards here, is that like
I do feel like there probably is two sides of that story. There probably was a lot of problems already going on internally at the initiative, and maybe they need Crystal Dynamics to again, I know that like this is obviously offensive for a lot of the people working in the trenches there, but maybe this was like internally at the initiative top down was a problem. Maybe this was kind of another like Metroid Prime 4 thing where Bandai Namco got the boot. Right. But instead they just like let the initiative like keep working on it. They just needed some direction. I don't know.
I mean, maybe, but certainly this is not it. I mean, especially when you're taking like a company that's been around for forever and you kind of feel like, oh God, we're this fresh new company. We're going to do this thing. Okay. Now we have to do a remake. Okay. Now goddamn Crystal Dynamics. You know what I mean? Like it would feel, no matter what, even if the project wasn't going well before that, to me, if I were on that team, it would feel like, let us clean up our own mess. We don't need a fucking overlord to, you know what I mean?
Or shut it down if it needs to be shut down.
Exactly. And speaking of being shut down, you remember about now almost 7 years ago, they announced, like, I don't know if it was the E3, we're going to remake Phantom Dust. Remember that Xbox game no one gives a shit about? Well, now we're not doing that. We're just going to release the old game on Xbone, I guess. And then there was like, I don't have to name them. I guess I'm going to anyway. Scalebound. There's Crackdown 3. There's Quantum Break. There's Halo Infinite, which has very famous development troubles. Yeah, it came out and people like it, but you know what I mean? Like even the holy trinity of Halo, Gears, Forza, even Halo's like, is this a Microsoft thing? Are they just not fostering the right? Look, every company is not going to get it right all the time, and Nintendo has their fair share of those, but they're kind of few and far between their StarFox Zeros. You know what I mean? They don't have a whole lot of those. It seems like lately, especially in the Xbone era coming to this, Microsoft has a lot. It feels like a lot anyway.
We've talked before about Microsoft's MO of like buying their way into the industry, and I think this is some of the like bitter results of that. I think this is probably kind of intrinsic to that way of doing business, maybe.
I guess so, yeah.
I mean, you only have to look at their shopping list for the past few years. Bethesda, Activision. I mean, why hire inward? Microsoft had a brief stint as a game developer on PC before they had Xbox out. Remember? I'm trying to remember the names of things, but they had this weird monster making game where you had to mush things into gross looking chimeras on Windows and try and take over countries with them.
What the fuck are you talking about? I've never heard of this in my life.
And there was this other game, and they had a baseball game they made on computer. And I'm trying
I remember.
Some of these I played, some of these I haven't, and I'm trying to figure, thanks to things online. And you look at that, and I'm just trying to sit there all these years later. How do you go from that to going to make you know what? We can make this into a game console.
I don't know, man. They probably just decided, hey, we have enough money to do this shit. Let's do it. But yeah, I don't know, man. I hope this feels, considering their recent string of pretty notable either failures or just development troubles at Microsoft, just in general, whether it's Microsoft proper or their satellite, you know what I mean? But yeah, it makes the acquisitions feel kind of like, they felt like they had to do this to shore up these kind of problems. Apparently we're not going to do it ourselves, so we better get an established, thing is what it feels like. But, I don't know. For the perfect dark people out there, I hope this turns out okay. But with that said, we're going to take a break and be back with a couple fun things. Hey ho, people. Hey ho. That's weird. Hey hoes. We're back.
Hee ho.
Hee ho. Frost Jack. Jack Frost. Oh wow. Frost, Jack. This is reading it out of a phone book, which we don't do anymore because it's 2022. We're back. I want to run a little. I was going to call it a game, but I'm not sure that it is. It's more like an experiment.
Before we do, the game I was bringing up in the last second where everyone was looking like Steve just made that shit up as he went along. No, this game is called Impossible Creatures, and it actually came out on the PC in 2003. I thought it came out earlier than that.
Yeah, man, that was, you were talking about some Monster Rancher type. I didn't know what the fuck you
I knew this was definitely not Microsoft, but I had visions of Spore in my head when you were
See, that's what I was thinking. Spore as well. I was thinking Spore, yeah.
And they didn't make the game, but they published it according to Wikipedia. What do I know?
Okay. The Spore, Proto Spore. Anyway, so basically what I want to do, Kevin here, but as you can tell on this show, when me and Steve get talking arcade stuff, Kevin just takes a nap. So
Kevin
he's just
fuck up.
He just shuts the fuck up and listens to us talk about whatever or bicker. And look, it's not his thing, and that's fine. But I really want to test his knowledge. I don't know if it's I'm going to present a game, I'm going to describe it to him best as possible, and he's going to guess whether it is Capcom, Taito, or Sega. So those are the only things. We're not going to go any company, Namco. I mean, because otherwise he'll never get it, right? At least this way, if he really truly doesn't know, he'll have a 1 in 3 chance. Yep. So here we go. Capcom, Taito, or Sega?
Before we start, let me give you a rundown of what my strategy is here, and you can tell me if I'm off on the wrong foot already. Because I did not go and start trying to memorize game lists and cheat before this or anything. In my mind, I imagine these three companies as three brothers, and Sega is the youngest one, and it's kind of mouthy and scrappy and goofy, and just a little bit off the wall. Capcom is the middle brother, and it's really cool and into sports, and everybody really likes Capcom. Taito is like the older one, and it's like a little bit quieter, and everybody still likes it, but it's maybe like a little bit nerdier and more reserved. So that's as long as I don't like magically know one of these games somehow, which is very likely to not happen. That's my strategy is to go based off that guess.
Okay,
We'll
you know what? I like that. I like that. Sorry, Steve.
No, we'll see how far that gets you.
Yeah, no, I think it's a sound strategy. Okay, so let's start out. Well, see, I was going to say let's start off with an easy one, but there's no such thing, right? Because I don't know what you know or not. So I'm not going to frame it that way. But let's say this is a well-known game, okay? So your first one is Fantasy Zone.
Fantasy Zone is Sega.
Sega? Oh, see, you got it. Okay. All right. You got that. Good. Okay.
Think he's cheating because he probably saw that on a blurb for Sega Genesis, Nintendo Switch Online.
Hey, you never know, right? See, I wanted to test the waters here, right? Okay, that's good. So, let's go to this one. How about Gain Ground? Gain Ground. A 1988 arcade game. It's an action RTS. 3 players on the save cabinet. Gain Ground. It's a vertical screen game. And you use your weapons. You use you can throw like a spear. There's like guys all over the map. You don't want to get hit because you're a one-hit wonder, but you want to get in there. Like I said, it's like kind of RTS-y action where you're controlling like a single unit. Gain Ground.
Is it like bright and colorful, or does it like take itself pretty seriously? A lot of
it takes itself pretty seriously. It has kind of one of those brown sort of medieval color palettes you might see in the late 80s there. Like I said,
based on that, I'm going to go Taito.
Taito?
Yeah.
Sorry. This is also Sega.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this is also Sega. It's a classic. It is I was going to say, I think the same people who made this made like the Golden Axe and like Altered Beast teams. I think it's part of that sect of, late 80s Sega stuff. Anyway. So let's try another one here. I'm only going to do a few because, I don't know how well this will go.
Kevin's sweating over here.
Okay, let's try this. How about Parasol Stars? Parasol Stars, 1991. This is a game for TurboGrafx 16. Parasol Stars.
Believe it or not, I have a copy of that game sitting in this room, and I don't even have a TurboGrafx 16, so I've never played it.
But who is it made by, buddy? Come on.
I want to say it with a certain amount of confidence, that one is Taito.
It is Taito. Okay. You got it. If you needed more hints, I was going to say it's a sequel to. Well, I wasn't going to say Bubble Bobble, but it is in that. It is in a very, Yeah. Okay. So I was going to try to find a way to say that, but you got it. Okay, good. How about Black Tiger? Black Tiger, 1987. It's an action game. It's a side-scrolling action game. Medieval-ish kind of thing. The pinball game Black Knight? Do you know that? The character almost looks like that.
Ah, okay.
And this is the first use of this company's very famous currency they use in a lot of games. But this is the very first appearance of it. Is Black Tiger, 1987.
I've heard of this game before. I couldn't have told you what genre or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this one's Capcom.
It is Capcom. You got it.
Oh,
I knew you'd be able to get these.
All right. Okay. It's going way better than I expected.
That currency is Zenny, of course. By the way, I'm sure you've seen it. Okay, really? Never? Not even Monster Hunter.
Give me
Mega Man Legends, Monster Hunter.
Really? Yeah, wait, Capcom always uses
do a Mega Man test, and I would do worse than this.
Okay, I forget you've never even done a. Yeah, okay, but we're
played Mega Man 2 a bit.
Okay. How about Super GT? Super GT, 1996, mid-90s racing game, also known as Scud Race. Outside of North America, here in North America, it's known as Super GT. Very impressive racing game for its time, and still even today.
This one of the like ones with the like 4-player connected cabinets.
I have only seen single units of this game. Now, I don't know if there isn't connected cabinet versions. There might be. Personally, I've only seen single unit ones. So
I feel like this is Sega, and I feel like I played this at the Beercade one time, but maybe I'm getting it conflated with another game.
Okay, is that your final answer, Sega?
Yes.
It is Sega!
Hey,
See,
right.
I knew you. I had faith in you. If you got a little more stuck, I was going to say it's the first racing game to use the Model 3 arcade board. That's Sega's. I don't know if that would trigger any memory for you, but the Model series of arcade boards in the 90s, basically the 3D stuff. Like Model 1 was like the original Virtua Fighter and like Virtua Racing and stuff.
Right,
You know what I mean? Okay, anyway, this was like Model 3, so we were getting advanced. Let's do one more. How about Magic Sword? Magic Sword 1990. This is a side-scrolling action game again. You can find various gold and platinum silver keys, unlock gates, and you can have a little helper with you for a while. A thief, a magician, a big axe guy. And Magic Sword, you climb a tower of 50 floors. So it's literally 50 stages of action, this arcade game.
Based on the description, I would have said Capcom, but I have Taito Legends for the Xbox, and I feel like this game might be on there.
Okay, so you're gonna say Taito?
Yeah.
Okay. Your first instinct was right. It was Capcom.
Okay.
Yes, Capcom Classic. One of my favorite games ever. One of these days on this show, I will talk about the most on-brand story that I could tell about myself involving Magic Sword, but that's a story for another time. But yeah, okay, good. That was fun.
All right,
I like
good.
that.
That was much less embarrassing than I planned on it being. I thought I was going to be urgently ejected from the show as soon as this segment was done.
No, I mean, like, look, if I had just like given you titles and just that was it, it'd be like, oh, what the fuck am I doing, you know?
All right,
but if
Kevin,
I give you the
our
right
next game
vibe,
is Street Fighter 2.
This is what I was really worried about, especially when you first said it was going to be an easy one. I thought you were going to start with like multiple easy ones, and I was going to completely muff it up and look like a giant idiot.
nah, I didn't want to do like, you know, but I wanted to see your like real. It's like, okay, do you really know absolutely nothing, or
Right,
you know what I mean? I wanted to get that first one, but okay, now Kevin. We got a little thing here. We've been wanting to do this since before the show started, so we've been thinking about this one. So go ahead and explain the segment to the people.
But before I do any explaining, I'm hoping to get a nice sound clip from our friend Steven where he says, "Rumor Roundup, what are you buying?" in the merchant voice from Resident Evil 4. Can we do this?
He's preparing. Give him a second, everybody. He's taking a sip of water. He's getting, palate wet. Here we go.
Rumor Roundup, what are you buying? I need more practice.
Hey,
that was pretty good.
That's good. That's good for off the cuff.
I need. We'll do it off screen.
Maybe a little more Dr. Claw in there. I think you might get there.
Yeah, a little down a couple tones, a little bit more bass.
A little bit,
but
yeah.
Other than that, it was totally on brand. All right. Yeah. So here's the concept of Rumor Roundup. What are you buying? Each of the three of us are starting out with 1,000 imaginary dollars, and we're going to place.
Is that U.S. or Canadian?
This is absolutely Canadian, and I'm a little offended you would even ask.
Canadian imaginary dollars.
We have 1,000 loonies, and so I put in a bunch of time, and I built a very nice spreadsheet, I must say, which auto calculates where we're sitting at with our grand total. So each time we visit this, and the plan right now, unless it is a giant wet fart, is to visit this quarterly. Each quarter, we're going to have a set of guesses that is due at the end of, I guess, the next quarter, and then another set of guesses that is due the quarter after that, mostly based kind of off of either rumors or things that we've talked about before on the show. So I'm going to give these guys each 2 items to bet on, and I'm going to give them odds, and they can decide if they want to bet, and if they do want to bet, how much they're going to bet. And then after the end of Q2, we'll revisit this. We'll see what they got right. And then after Q3, we'll revisit the next set.
All right.
So
sounds good.
To start out the Q2 items, Steven, you have the Amico is publicly acknowledged to be canceled by the end of Q2. And I'm going to give you odds of 3-1 for this, because I think the Amico in theory has been canceled for the last year, but I don't know that anybody's got the balls to actually come out and sever it.
Yeah.
So, for anybody not familiar with the odd system, if Steven bets $100 on this, if he loses his $100 for the 3-1. But if he wins, he gets $300. So
yes. So is this just for Steve? Is this not? I can't bet on this.
This one is just for Steve.
Okay.
2 questions, Kevin. When's the end of Q2?
So that would be the last day of June. So actually, the other thing I thought about, the end of Q2, in theory, as long as E3 goes ahead as expected, most of these things should resolve before, with E3 being included. Not that Tommy's going to come out on stage at E3 and say, "Guess what? We fucked up. The Amico's dead."
Okay, that does answer my second question. A press release will do in this case.
Yeah. Any way that it's
and any sort of thing, like from an investor note or an email to someone else that someone else finds will be okay. Is
anything official that the public finds, finding out that the Amico is actually not happening and they're not still like dragging the string for everybody.
$400 imaginary dollars on that.
Whoa!
All right, we got a bet. All right, right away.
Big. All right, good. I like it. Boy, and 3-1 odds, that could pay off pretty nicely.
Yeah.
So possible payout $1,200, possible loss of $400. Andre, next up, Final Fantasy 16 is given a 2022 release date before the end of Q2. Now, I do know that they've said they're supposed to be giving an update sometime in the next couple months. So they don't. As long as the release date that they announce before the end of Q2 hits 2022 at any time, you're good. You only get 1-1 odds for this, because I don't think this is super unreasonable.
Oh man, this is a toughie. This is, god damn. Like, you guys know I'm excited for this game, right? So I'm kind of thinking with my heart here, I'm
eyeballing it too.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna have to pass on this one.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pass on this one. Okay. Unfortunately, I would you see where I'm caught here. This is a really good one. This is a really good prop. I'm just gonna have to. I'm not totally feeling it. I'm gonna have to pass. Very good prop though, but I'm tempted. But I'm going to say no.
You don't feel, because I think if it weren't for COVID, that this would have maybe been out already.
Yeah, but
you got a pretty good. You think this will be 2023 game?
Yeah.
Ooh,
so it's slipping. So I'm gonna pass on this one, but good prop though, definitely.
$0.
Yeah.
All right. So tentatively, maybe we'll change this down the road depending on how well this works. But for right now, I've put my own bets in here as well.
Okay.
But these two guys have to give me the odds of what they think is reasonable for, and then I'll decide how much and if I want to bet. So I have said not only before the end of Q2, but specifically at E3, that a Sunset Overdrive announcement of some sort is made, whether it be remastering Sunset Overdrive and releasing it on PS5 or a full sequel. Some sort of Sunset Overdrive announcement being made at E3.
Any announcement?
Any announcement.
So let's say, okay, when they did the Ratchet and Clank, like photos of all of the different franchises that they were involved in, that wouldn't count just because they had the like soda balloon guy. Yeah. Something that in that universe that is coming in a game.
Yeah.
But if it was like a $10 downloadable title that's like a side scroller, like that would count.
Any content at all. Steve, I'm willing to give him at least 4-1 on this, because I don't really see this.
I was thinking 3-1 because
Okay, do you want to do 3? Let's do 3. Let's do 3 then. You seem more...
It seems time.
Okay. 3 to 1,
right.
Kevin.
3 to 1.
Oh, so you're taking it. Okay.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'm gonna do $125.
All right. Sounds good. I hope you're right, because I would like to finally play this game. I've been looking at it.
I hope so too.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just feel like with that Ratchet and Clank marketing stuff, like they wouldn't have done that just because that franchise was never on PlayStation. Like there has to be something cooking. Whether it's going to be announced at E3 or not, I don't know. I was like so hot and heavy that at that time, like right before Ratchet and Clank come out, I was like, oh, they're going to announce Sunset Overdrive this week. Like I fucking know it. Little overzealous.
But that was your yeah. You really were feeling it though. I remember.
I was feeling it. Yeah. All right. So now moving on to our end of Q3 round of betting. So this will be the second and final round for tonight. Steven, Game Boy Advance is announced for Switch Online before the end of Q3, and I'm going to do 4 to 1 odds on this just because I don't think it's going to happen.
Neither do I. It's a good one, huh?
By Q4, you say?
No, end of Q3.
End of Q3.
Yeah, so that would be end of
happening.
September. You're not doing it? 4 to 1 odds is easy money.
I have, because I have a different scenario playing out in my head, and the GBA is not in it yet, so I'm sitting this bet out.
All right, fine.
I like the idea, but I don't think it's happening just yet.
Okay.
You guys are a little bit better with the poker face than me because I feel like any bet that comes my way, I just feel at least $100.
You're jumping on that shit, yeah. Throw a couple bucks at it, yeah.
This one I'm also going to give you 4 to 1 odds, but I think this one is maybe more likely because you're always the I believe the rumors guy. So the GoldenEye remake that keeps popping up every few months for the last 150 years. Is announced to be coming out at any point is announced that it's back in active development and planned to be coming out. Even if it doesn't come out, it's announced as being a product for release before the end of Q3.
I will take this bet tentatively. I will bet on this 4 to 1. You say?
Yeah,
I'll do $50. That's all the confidence I have.
I want you guys to get a little wild. Do you guys need to? Are you guys start pounding?
I will get wild. Trust me. I know I'm being timid right now.
Next time we do this, you guys are going to pound a couple daiquiris before we go ahead.
I didn't realize I was going to be the big spender on this first segment here.
No, I like that happening. And you were right. I am the believe the rumors guy. So no.
If Steven nails that Amico one, we're going to be way in the fucking dust.
So. Oh yeah, he's going to fucking. I mean.
All right, maybe this one was too safe. I don't know. For my last one, I've said that Mario Strikers Battle League winds up with over 90 on Metacritic.
Ooh.
Is that too safe, or is that pushing it?
I don't. Well, Steve, what do you think? I don't think it's going to get a 90.
My heart wants it to get a 90.
I don't see that.
10-1 odds.
10 to 1.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I don't see that 90.
Wow.
So I'm with that.
I don't. I'm definitely not confident, but 10 to 1 odds, man. I want to throw $1,000 down right now.
You got to throw something at it. 10 to 1's good though.
Yeah. See, if I put $250 on this. And if I lose, which I probably will, I'm only down $250, but I could be up $2,500.
That's not
I would
bad.
be
and I'm
fucking made in the sun for this.
And I'm being a little timid little mouse right now with my $50, right? So
$250.
Do it, yeah. All right.
Just because the odds are too good to pass up.
Can't pass it up.
Okay, so
that's how they get me every year at the sports book. I'm betting the Padres win the World Series 150 to 1. You know what I mean? And I'm I gotta throw $10 at it. I gotta. I believe in my shitty team. I gotta do it.
I guess I got. Let me. I'm gonna
this guy laughing at me. Oh boy.
So as of right now, just a real quick recap.
Yeah,
so
recap.
As far end of Q2, Steve with the Amico has the chance to win 1,200 or lose 400. With me with Sunset Overdrive, I have the chance to win 375 or lose 125. For the end of Q3 on the GoldenEye remake, Andre has the chance to win $200 or lose 50. And with Mario Strikers Battle League, I have the chance to win 2,500 beautiful Canadian loonies or lose 250 Canadian loonies.
All right, yeah, that's a long shotter for sure. But like those are the most fun, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, that's good. I'm into
Perfect.
this. So in a few months here, after E3, basically, we'll check back in. We'll see what happens. Yeah. All right. So that was good. But one more thing before I get out of here, or we'll see. So we were just me and Kevin we're sitting here gawking at Gran Turismo 7, the graphics on PlayStation 5 once again, and like we were just talking about like things in our like games in our life that really blew us away, like those sort of benchmark titles for you that you will just never forget the first time you saw it or even heard it. I guess audio and visuals go together, but I'm really just kind of mostly talking about graphics, but it can be audio to a degree, like in conjunction with,
or even gameplay. I think, to be fair, right? Just something like really revolutionary that had never been done before and set a new bar.
Yeah, of course. I'm mostly talking graphics here myself, but gameplay can tie into it too. So I want to start with one. We have a few here. We'll see how many we get to. But Strider, for me, the well-known Capcom game. Ah, man, I should have asked you Strider. Hey,
yes, it sure is a well-known Capcom game.
I don't know. He might have been confused. There is a version on the Sega Genesis Nintendo Switch Online, so he might have just gone, it's a Sega game!
Hey, that's good. That's good, too. I think it says reprogrammed by Sega, though, just like Ghouls and Ghosts does. Anyway, Strider, man. That was the first time I was ever blown away by a game, not just at the arcade, but anywhere. Because look, I was growing up in the '80s. Graphics were rudimentary. The games I was seeing growing up were like either Atari shit or like, Dig Dug or you know what I mean, simple stuff, which is fine. But the first time I ever saw a game blow me away like that was Strider, because I don't know if it's the first game on the CPS1 hardware, but it was definitely one of the first, and it was such a step up from anything I'd ever seen before. But it was the combination of art and animation and Strider's just so fucking cool, man. And the sound effects, like, especially, I had never seen that sort of anime sword slice before. Everyone knows Strider's weapon, the Cypher, just does that shing, and you see that crescent wave, right? The really fast crescent wave of death, chopping fools in half at the arcade. I had never seen that before. It did something to my brain where I just, I'd have my 75 cents at the liquor store or something, and you have the row of arcade games back there, when we do such a thing. And, man, I wanted to put all my money into that, and I did for months, man, because look, I know I'm the oldest one here, so this game doesn't probably hit you guys like that, but anyone probably alive at that time definitely feels the same way I do if you had saw it at that time, because I can't tell you. It's just, and there's a reason why like that character has persisted in Capcom history. As a total aside, have either of you guys played Strider 2014? Like that game is fucking excellent. By the way, it retains like it gave me them feels again. It even has like nods to like the NES game, which is completely different. It is like it's probably the ultimate Strider experience. Anyway, for me, first benchmark game of my life, Strider.
That was beautiful.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that was very wholesome. So thank you for that.
Thanks. Who wants to go next? Steve.
I'll go next. I'm a bit younger than Andre. Big surprise. So,
bit older than Kevin, though.
Strider. I don't even think I've seen Strider. But my first Strider was an NES game. We're not going to talk about all that right now. Instead, we're going to talk about how a little trip to, electronics store in the city. Might have been the Wiz. Anybody in New York remember the Wiz? Anyway, where I got to play StarFox for the first time on a big screen CRT, and I didn't have a Super Nintendo of my own yet at the time. But I played a lot of NES and Genesis and Super Nintendo and other people's systems. But you knew how games looked, and suddenly you're a kid, and when most kids are standing there, you're not counting frames like Andre is, and
oh please.
So you're seeing the polygons, and and you've never seen anything look like this before. You're seeing the ships like going through the scramble and taking off, and that's whole cinematic thing that Andre was talking about earlier tonight hits harder when you're 7-ish or so. I forget how old I was back then. I'm getting older now. It's one of those where this is about as good as games are ever going to get, guys, or at least if this is where it's going to go, it's going to be something special. And I do the little StarFox chittering for you people, but now I have lost confidence from before.
My favorite is Falco. That's my favorite. Hey, okay, so I want to ask you about this. Is StarFox the first polygonal game you've ever seen?
Yes, it was.
Okay, I was figuring that might be the case because, like, I hadn't seen a whole lot before StarFox, but there was Virtua Racing. I think in '92 was like the first like big one for me. But even before that, there was like a couple of Atari arcade games like Hard Drivin' or Stun Runner. I don't know if you guys know what those games are, but those were very early like polygonal racing games. Stun Runner is like a futuristic thing.
I do, but they weren't exactly wherever I was.
Right. But I'm just saying, I've seen a few things before StarFox, but not much. So like, but it was StarFox blew me away too. I never thought we could have those kind of graphics at home. Right. So
I'd get a Super Nintendo a year or two late. I'm really, I guess this is what happens when you get old, right? You start, the years start blurring together. I got StarFox a few months after getting my Super Nintendo, and it was when I was a kid, and it was just as much fun back then, even if I didn't have as big a TV as the Wiz did.
All right, Kevin, what blew you away?
I already spoke about this a little bit on the PC episode that I did with my friend that came out with a couple weeks ago. Doom. Doom was the first time that I ever felt like I actually had seen 3D graphics. I know that I had played 3D World Runner as a kid at like a cousin's house. Of course, I'd seen like the Sonic 2 bonus levels running down the pipe. Doom was the first time that it actually felt like real 3D, even though it technically isn't real 3D. So I think this is a pretty like easy basic bitch answer, but it was
I think that's good because I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, okay. No, I was just going to say because I think what really sells it is because it's 3D gameplay. You know what I mean? It may not be 3D graphics, but it's 3D gameplay, so it may as well be 3D. That's what I was saying.
For sure. Yeah. Not only that, I was quite young at that time, and this was a couple of years after Doom came out. This is probably 95, 96, so it's not even like this was like brand new. It was, I guess, probably 95. Because I know I had never played PlayStation or anything before that. But also, it was pretty impactful as well because I was a little kid and, this was like hands down the like most gory, violent thing I had ever played in my life. Doom just felt like I can't believe that they did this with a video game.
Yeah.
Before we move on, does anyone else have the 3D World Runner song stuck in their head, or is it just me?
Never played it.
Oh, then good. Don't get it stuck in your head. It doesn't. Once someone brings it up, it doesn't leave for like about a week.
When you were speaking about gory games, when Mortal Kombat came out, I was 10. That was like the perfect age for that shit, as you can imagine. Like for a 10, 11-year-old, oh my god, like oh Jesus Christ. Anyway, so I'll go to another one of mine. Super Mario World. Now, I'm sure anyone listening to this is expecting me to just say a bunch of arcade games. You know what I mean? But, like, honestly, I will never, ever forget this. Like, when we still had mom and pop stores, there was one at the mall, a video game store, and we went there a lot and just checked out the games or whatever. And the Super Nintendo came out like kind of near the end of summer. It was like August 91. So I remember it wasn't as cool. We were just taking a trip through the mall, and we didn't even really know this was coming out because you know how it was back then. Things just appeared when it appeared, right? We went in the shop one day and we saw the Super Nintendo, and I saw what I recognized instantly as Mario, and I just felt like I melted into the floor. I think it was like Yoshi's Island 3, the one with the water, right? Where you have the little mushroom top. Yeah, in the first world. Oh my fucking God. Guys, I can't tell you, like, at that time. Now, look, I had seen other, like, more graphically impressive stuff at the arcade, of course. I mean, because we've been using 8-bit or 16-bit arcade boards for a while now. So it wasn't necessarily that. It was just seeing that applied to Mario and seeing that art style and seeing that kind of thing that I was so familiar with from Nintendo in this completely. And then, of course, the audio blew me away. Even like the little things like in the cave, you'd hear it echo when you get a coin or jump or something like that. The audio played into that too. Guys, I was like, I was just freaking out. A month later, my mom got one for. I mean, I'm sure she may have been planning to get one for me for Christmas or something, but I probably just begged her enough, like those 3 weeks where we got one the next month. So we were a pretty early SNES adopting household. But man, she's like, okay, I'll get you this, but you're not getting any more games for Christmas. Fine. I played Super Mario World for 4 fucking months, guys. Like, I didn't give a shit. And I found all the exits by myself. Because, you know, if you play if you play the game for 4 months, you're bound to find it.
Even the one where you've got to, like, swoop up with the cape under the... Jeez.
Did them all.
I had a hard time doing that, knowing where it was.
Yeah. Trust me. It took me a long time to do, you know, with my little kid hands, 9, 10 years old. But, guys, that was... that was a game for me. And people think I hate Super Mario World because I always say I like Mario 3 better or whatever, because I do. But like the graphically though, and as an audiovisual experience, Mario World just for me is just one of those games. So yeah, Steve.
I guess we'll go down the list, and I guess Gavin can just chime in at any time.
Piggyback too, because
similar to StarFox 64, one day I'm walking in the Blockbuster renting games for Super NES, as you do, and they have a display for the Nintendo 64. Like, oh, that's not coming out for another month, I don't think. And then I remember reading about it in magazines, and they got Super Mario 64, and he's running and jumping and doing all these crazy things, and it's like this is 3D, guys. It's about as 3D is as I felt we were ever going to get. It's about a theme as we're going to get for these benchmark things.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're 8 or 9, I think I spent about 10 minutes just running outside the courtyard before I actually went inside the castle. Just because that's where I was parked.
Me and Kevin are nodding in unison here. We think everyone did that. Yeah.
So this explicitly is why I kind of wanted to like push the gameplay thing a little bit, because I remember with Mario 64, before I'd ever played it, I got the VHS tape from Nintendo Power in the mail. Which, by the way, this is like a cultural gem. If you haven't seen this, go on YouTube and check it out.
I've seen it. I got the same tape.
Good. Yeah. So I'd seen Mario 64. In very low quality action at that point. So I knew like what the game looked like in motion. It obviously was blown away by the 3D graphics at that point. But my first time playing that was also at a demo kiosk at the mall. And it was amazing. Just like picking up the controller, and then, getting your head wrapped around putting your fucking hand in the middle. But after that, like everything just was so incredibly intuitive. And I'd never like, especially for a 3D game, the way that it made the transition from being used to from 2D to 3D games was very impressive.
Couldn't have been any better, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Just ask Bubsy. Oh, wait.
Real quick, I'm just going to blow through my last couple here because we're not running out of time, but we've been yapping a while. But just real quick, a couple more. NFL 2K on Dreamcast. If anyone had a Dreamcast at $99.99, if they didn't buy NFL 2K, they had the demo disc that had a video of NFL 2K, and boy howdy, it was the most realistic sports I had ever fucking seen. This is burned into my memory. I forget who it is, but there's someone's making like an over the shoulder catch, some wide receiver. That animation was so spot on because we didn't have that shit before. You know what I mean? Like, I think like NFL Game Day finally went like 3D graphics in like 97 or 98, but it didn't look like that. That was just crazy to see that in real time. The whether it was mocap or they just did that kind of quality animation, it was, I was like, this is football. This is indistinguishable from a real game. You know, like I was blown away. My other one here is Destiny. If anyone doesn't know why I get on here and I'm so like overwrought about Destiny 2 and the direction it took, is because I fucking love Destiny more than, it might be my favorite game last generation. It may be. I mean, I'm not saying that for sure, but it might be. That's how much I fucking love Destiny. It's the best application of art into a video game I had ever seen for a million reasons. I mean, it's phenomenal. But yeah, those are the big four.
Is that the reason for that one? Just like the art direction for it being a benchmark game?
Yeah,
that was the one that I was curious about.
Yeah, art direction and fidelity too, because we hadn't seen to that point anything that runs like a very rock solid 30 frames a second, especially coming out of the previous generation, which couldn't hack that to save their lives. And like to have something that looked like this at 1080p at 30 frames a second, to have this vision just be so fully realized was just incredible. So I will always give that to Destiny. Yeah. So anybody else have anything real quick they want to mention here?
Mine are kind of babbly, so maybe we save this for another time.
Okay, we can babble later. Kevin,
I did real quick. Rogue Squadron 2 that was on GameCube. That was a huge jump, but more so, I really want to talk about the first Gears of War. So the first time I seen this, I was probably in grade 11, and a kid had this like, I don't know, maybe 19 or 21 inch flat screen TV and their brand new Xbox 360 that they brought to school. And this was the first time I had ever seen a game in HD, let alone, on the next gen of systems. Like on a good 720p TV at the time. And I don't even, the jump was not the same from anything I'd ever seen as far as like graphical fidelity. I don't think like this wasn't just an increase in resolution necessarily, and maybe this had a lot to do with just like not being familiar with flat screen TVs at the time either, because I think that was probably the first time I had seen a flat screen TV in person. Right. But just like that game looked incredible, and just seeing something in HD, that is the last time that we've got into this before about kind of like diminishing returns in jumps from consoles, but like seeing 360 from the gen before that for the first time was that seemed like a huge jump.
Yeah, but you know what? I think we'll always get there. Whether it's not always going to be fidelity, it'll just be like possibilities. I mean, it could be both too, like the Matrix demo, right, or whatever.
Yeah,
that blew us the fuck away.
I did not think I would see anything on this generation that looked as good as that demo, period, throughout the entire generation, I will say.
And we're just getting started too. So, all right, we should get the fuck out of here. We've ran long. Hope you guys enjoyed it. But next week, if you are longtime listeners of us on our previous creative endeavor, me and Vin, yes, he's making his return here, his first appearance on Fine Time. This is something we've been talking about for a long time. We are finally doing Kingdom Hearts 3, our blind playthrough, and boy howdy, it is a doozy. I've never said fuck so much. I'm pretty sure I said fuck Donald Duck and all sorts of other blasphemous things. So yeah, look forward to that. I know Steve has.
Oh, I'm not looking forward to the part where you fuck Donald Duck.
Oh, I'm not going to fuck Donald. I mean, that would have been more entertaining than what happened in the game. Anyway, guys, go to Fine Time Podcast on Twitter. I'm sure you already know that already. You can follow the three of us on Twitter if you go to Fine Time Podcast and look in the bio. All three of our names are there. But until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.
All right, let me pop my Sega, Taito, and Capcom Wikipedias open.
Yes, the three companies put together.